Hi, welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week, talk about Critical Role Campaign 2, Episode 126, Worth Fighting For.
Yes.
Alt title, Worth Waiting For.
Little column A, little column B.
Well, I guess we'll get to that. We all had to wait 125 episodes for it. You can wait another, 40 minutes or so for us to talk about it. Episode begins
exactly where we said it would.
Yep.
Immediately inspecting for the eyes. I get half credit because I called one of the two.
Yeah. Bo's tattoo.
Yep.
And between Caleb's shoulder blades.
Yep.
And still no powers.
Still no powers that we know
of. We also learn how Caduceus smells.
Yep.
So now we know that Yasha smells like crayons. And Caduceus smells like, let's say, sandalwood and eucalyptus.
Yep. And Caleb is just stinky.
Well, not anymore. But we have not gotten a default smell for anyone else yet. There was an interesting question in the beginning of the episode that I kind of wanted to touch on. We've talked about it in the past as well, but it bears repeating whenever it comes up.
Okay.
And that is readying spells.
Yes.
And when and how do you lock in that preparedness? Because I thought about it, like in the moment, Taliesin says, well, I haven't finished picking my spells yet. So I could prepare that.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he decides not to. And Caleb mentions he's trying to formulate his thoughts for the day on what he's going to need to prepare.
Yeah.
And I took that to mean it was an either-or question for his 7th level prepared spell.
Right.
And so later on, when they decide they're not going to teleport, he says, I'll do the tower. I was like, did he prepare both?
I mean, he could have.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing that says that you can't prepare a bunch of
even if
high-level spells.
Yeah. I mean, I've always kind of figured he does prepare both, so that he has whichever one he needs the one spell slot for, and probably has not as many first-level spells prepared. Or,
That's fair. I mean, yeah, it's because I go back and forth on
because we know he typically doesn't prepare any of the ritual spells.
Yeah. Well, if you're a wizard, don't.
Yeah.
It's the main advantage you have as a wizard is you don't have to prepare your ritual spells.
Yeah. I mean, unless you think you're going to need it in a hurry.
Yeah.
But that's rare.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think it's very easily permissible that he had both prepared.
Yeah. Well, Rose agrees with you.
Yeah.
I always assume that he, depending on what he's expecting for the day, that he prepares a lot of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th level spells. because that's where the big buff spells are.
Yeah. And he probably does, but I think he has both of those, and mainly because of, in the past, his wording. He's like, I can do this or this, but it's one or the other. Meaning, like, to me, that's saying, I've got both of these. Whichever one we need, we have, but we only get one of them.
That's fair. For his slot use. Yeah, that's fair. And I think Liam's smart enough to know that there's enough uncertainty around the table that I'll just prepare both of them.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a question.
Okay.
And it's a ship question.
Okay.
Did we see the birth of a poly BDSM ship?
In what?
Because Caleb
Mm-hmm.
smacks Ford
Okay.
twice before Jester puts her hands on him. And whilst he's doing that, he says, when I was growing up, I learned that after pain, there's a rush of endorphins.
Well, and that does tie into a comment later on in the dance hall.
Uh-huh.
That I wanted to...
Uh-huh.
That scene... It possibly, because that scene smacked of Campaign 1 when they convinced the guards that they were all in a relationship together and Vax was leading Grog by the...
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, so... I mean, that would be a way for Forrester and Widow Chestmans to all get what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it would. I'm glad I could make your head canon happy, Rose. So yeah, that's sort of, and I didn't think that Thursday night.
Okay.
I didn't think of that until my rewatch last night.
I honestly didn't think of it until I saw your note on it, but in the moment I did think of the Vax Grog scene. So, but I didn't connect it to, this is the start of, I was just like, it's reminiscent of their interaction back then.
Yeah.
What would that ship name be?
Yeah, I devoted about 3 minutes of my brain time trying to figure that out, and I was like, you know what? This isn't my thing, so... Ship names are not my thing, so I will wait for others to come up with that. I don't know if there's been a poly ship name.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's been one, but I don't know of it.
Yeah. So, yeah. We have Caduceus. Should we teleport? Should we not? Well, why don't we just ask them?
Yeah.
We'll send a message to my dad. And he says his message.
Yes.
Travis is counting words.
Yeah.
He says, that's 22 words. And Laura says, what does she say? I'll
add some flair to it.
Yeah, that's right. I'll add flair to it. And he immediately forgets what he said.
We're doing creepy shit.
Yes. So she sends a message.
She
got
in the ballpark of the general theme?
Yes. Yes.
I don't want to say she got the general gist of it, but in the ballpark of the gist of it.
Yeah. But we learned an important thing in the response. We learned that the dream that Caduceus had was probably from the Wild Mother.
Yeah.
Because Cornelius says the dreams have been weird.
Yeah.
Which tells me it's not
Just him.
It's not just him, and it's not from Lucian.
Right. Or Aor in general.
Yeah.
Because, to the best of our knowledge, none of the rest of them have been there.
Right. And we haven't seen that the Somnovum are omniscient.
Right.
So, yeah. So I took sort of heart in that. But it would mean some fairly significant cosmic things.
Okay.
If that's true, if they were from the Wild Mother. It means that a follower of hers picked up on something that she didn't know about. Because way back, long time ago, when Caduceus cast Commune and was asking questions about the city, the only thing that he got was it's unnatural, and she didn't know anything about it.
Right.
Now she is sending him visions of the transformation that took place.
Well,
or a version of the transformation.
Theoretically, if Caduceus, wherever he's at, can connect to the Wild Mother for his magic, theoretically, anything he discovers, like that forest, she could then have knowledge of.
Yes, but the significant thing about that, and why I say it's of cosmic significance, is because the level of detail presented in that dream would have been known to Ioun.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
there's, with that dream, Matt is showing that there's communication between the gods.
Yes.
Which is fun to infer.
Yes.
They decide we're going to go shopping.
Yep.
We get a shopping montage of sorts. Focused mainly on components and a few personal items.
Yep.
And they got components for legend lore. Which, if Laura and Taliesin were communicating, it could have saved Laura 200 gold pieces. Because the ivory parts are not taken up, and Caduceus has those already.
Yeah.
So, but she'll have her own.
Yep.
Vault of Amber.
Yep.
Which I don't want to call him out on it, but I'm pretty sure that I'm right.
Okay.
But what he paid for the amber is not the gold component cost for the spell. He paid 60, I think, or 80, something like that. And the value of the amber that Essek gave him was 100 because it was 2 pieces worth 50.
Okay.
And the gold, if my memory serves, the gold component cost is 250 in amber.
Yeah, I'm not sure off the top of my
head. And it just specifies that the largest piece of amber of those gems becomes the one that everything is stored in.
Right.
So, yeah. Bo puts up the money for a hero's feast.
Yep.
Chalice. And Caduceus asks Caleb to get him a tuning fork.
Yep. And we also got components for Fortune's Favor.
Yes. Because I asked you, why is he getting all these pearls?
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, that spell consumes it. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. And it really, we talked about this, puts a high value on the lucky fee.
300 gold a day.
A day.
Yeah.
And even more than that, Because Fortune's Favor, you can't make your opponent reroll an attack against you, which you can with Lucky.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, arguably, it's even more valuable than that.
Yeah. So, yeah. We get some gifts for Luke.
Yep.
And I am lumping in the books that Caleb bought with that.
You think those are for Luke?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he feels guilty for keeping Veth away from him.
You think Luke is really going to be into transmutation basics?
I think it doesn't matter.
Okay.
In the sense of giving the gift. I think Caleb is making a educated bet that he will either like it or get some use out of it because, Uncle Caleb does it. But also, Mommy does magic.
Yeah.
So here's a piece that,
Dad is theoretically magic adjacent.
Yeah. So that's why I think he got those for Luke.
Okay.
I, however, have a feeling that the particular children's story that he was looking for in the collection of children's stories was not Der Katzenprinz.
Yeah, I didn't think that either.
I think it's the Volthexe.
Okay, I can see that. See, my thought, especially with the children's book, I wasn't really sure about the transmutation one, was for a gift for Jester.
That was my first thought too. And it wasn't until...
Especially concerning the night they shared where he read it to her.
Yes. But if he wanted to give her a gift, it would be Der Katzenprinz translated into common.
Okay.
At least I think that's what he would do.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense, but...
Yeah. The fact that he included the transmutation book for children meant to me that these were for a child, and the only one that we have is Luke.
Yeah.
And Veth gets him a copy of her antler setup.
Yep.
And Matt was all over the board in what he was charging them for stuff. And I've mentioned in the past that Matt hugely undercharges for books.
Yes.
But I didn't think of a reason for it until now. And it could be that somewhere on Exandria, or maybe just in the Empire, there's a printing press.
Yeah.
The fact that there are bookstores and there's a fairly ubiquitous availability of books seems to support that.
Yeah.
But the biggest evidence for a printing press, especially like a backroom printing press, is the Zine that the guy gave to Caleb.
Zemnian punk rock, I'm into it.
Yeah. Yeah, which begs the question, is Jorhassian rock like Norwegian death metal?
Yes. 100% yes.
Yeah.
There is no question in my head canon.
I mean, yeah.
I am more confident in that answer than I was a couple of weeks ago when you asked about which of the Mighty Nine or which was Spice Girl. And I gave you those answers immediately as well.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. We also get date night supplies.
Yep.
Being purchased by multiple people again.
Yes.
Veth getting a flower for Bo to give to Yasha.
Yes.
And Bo getting a tie.
Yes. And I have to say, I was a little personally attacked by Sam's comment about the bow tie's a weird thing to give as a gift, because I love bow ties and I would love anybody who gave me one as a gift.
Yeah,
you know?
And I was thinking, why is a bow tie any more weird than a regular tie?
Right. You know.
Yeah.
I wear them at least a couple of times a month, you know?
Yeah. We also get pastries, a bakery hop.
Double nutter.
Oh, yes. Crossbow bolts and fluffernutter. Which I didn't think about it during the episode, but while we were doing show prep, Matt quotes a price, and I was like, wow, that's a lot cheaper than what I would charge.
Yeah.
Just because I did a whole gunpowder rules set for Araku. It was close.
Yeah. Well, especially when you consider he got enough for 2 fluffernutters in case he messed up the first one. Although I love Talison's comment, if you mess up the first one, you're not going to be around to make the second one. But he got them so that each one would be double the power of the first one, of the original.
Yeah. So
he essentially got 4 fluffernutters worth of stuff to put into 2 fluffernutters.
Yeah. We'll see. And then we had probably the funniest segment of the first part of the episode with Jester getting the ring appraised.
Bunking both the con artist and Ford. Trickster Cleric's gonna trickster.
Oh, so good.
I love it. We talked about, she goes in, comes up with the story about
my fiance is taken by pirates.
Yes.
Which is funny because, there's been a lot of reactions on YouTube recently to The Princess Bride because they just had their anniversary this year.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of... So it just made me laugh.
And see, I was thinking just, because he got taken by a Bondica before she got him.
I didn't draw that line.
But yeah, she goes, gets her cousin to appraise the enchantment, and then introduces him as her brother. And
but you said he was your cousin.
Cousin brother.
Which technically could be possible with half elves.
Yeah.
Depending on how the family's going. Because the same elf could have, multiple families. But yeah. And then she comes out and tells Ford, I got 500 gold for it. He's like, what?
Yep. Yeah, that's what she said it was worth, right?
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so good. I love it when Laura gets to be the trickster cleric.
Yes. My favorite part, though, is when she's like, no, I'm just going to keep it. It's worth way more. You guys don't know what you're doing. You suck. But great effort. I really appreciate everything you tried. Trying to keep the relationship straight. Just kind of critiquing them, helping them build their...
So good.
As, like you said, any trickster cleric, but any follower of the Traveler.
Yeah.
Any Laura Bailey character.
Yeah. Yasha settles on a non-detection cream.
Yes.
At least that's what I, in my head, called it. I can't think of a particular thing in the DMG for it. I don't think it works.
I don't think so either.
And
I'm looking forward to her finding that merchant again.
If she even uses it, because how is she gonna know?
Yeah.
Unless they can all get a necklace except her, and she puts it on, and an orb is above her, and Ford sees it. It's the only way they're ever going to find out it doesn't work.
No. If the orb focuses on her, and like they did before they spread out, the orb follows her. You know what I mean?
Well, either way, if they could determine that it's on her,
yeah,
and she put it on,
yeah,
that's the only way they're going to know it's not going to work.
Right.
It didn't. Unless in real meat space, at some point, she puts it on to have privacy, and Jester tries to spy on her and Bo. But then they wouldn't know. Only Jester would know.
Well, Jester would end up saying something.
It would depend on the motivation.
Like, she wouldn't be like, I was watching you guys. She'd be like, oh, like that one time you, or,
oh
you
let slip.
Yeah. And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Veth gets to play matchmaker. And, you gonna do it? And
no, not it. Okay, sorry, you didn't do it.
Yes, we're gonna have a date. You gotta do it. And she's like, I don't know if she liked me. I think I need to take a bath. And she's your hussy, and she doesn't shave. She likes BO.
Yeah.
And gets a huge payoff later, and Sam was very happy about it.
Yes.
And then Bo gives Caleb her list.
Yes.
And
I love that interaction.
So did I. And as it was happening, and the other players were like, I think they were trying to determine if they were just doing an improv game.
Yeah.
Like there was no communication between them before game.
Yeah.
And they were just doing it in the moment. I think that was part of their confusion. They were trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, no. They probably did send something. What? Why? So, and
yeah.
Then it's just multiple layers.
At first I was like, oh, Caleb's, Liam's just improving something, and then as it went on, I was like, no, he's actually got a list, and there's something that...
Yeah, no, I knew, like, almost immediately that they had communicated previously.
Yeah, well, it was pretty quick, but, like, that first, line and a half, I was like, okay.
Yeah. But I left. Why?
You know why.
You fucking know why.
This is...
Why is that the thing that you're resistant to?
You wouldn't understand, and I walk away. I loved it. Wait, what are you guys talking about?
Actually, I'm so nervous.
And so excited.
Yeah. Next scene, dance hall.
Dance hall days, yep.
I was kind of nervous for this one. And I thought they set themselves up well.
Yes.
Everyone who cast Disguise Self cast it. Ford waits outside. Veth makes herself and Bo invisible.
Mm-hmm.
And Jester interviews suitors. Which just... I don't know. There's just so much of the Forrester interactions seem performative.
Yeah.
To me. And I just keep thinking about Ford was her first crush, and with his coming out to her and then kissing is arguably her first boyfriend.
Yeah.
I'm just like, almost nobody ends up with their first partner. And so I'm just like, I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. And I think there's a couple times where I'm watching Laura and I kind of see it behind her eyes where she's brewing something.
Yeah.
Like, she's got something planned. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Yasha's the only one other than Caleb not in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes a corner booth. Which means when Astrid comes in and gets the lay of the room, she only sees the broody, tall woman in the corner. Mm-hmm. And Caleb by himself. And Veth decides she's going to dance through the crowd to try to find any invisible persons lurking.
Yep.
And I understand why Matt asked for the acrobatics check.
Yes.
I think it was unnecessary for a very specific reason. She's a Lightfoot halfling. Rules is written, they can move through creature squares that are larger than them.
Right. I don't think it was so much a issue of moving through the squares. I think it was more of an issue of pact and not bumping into someone as you move through their square.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, I understand why he called for it.
I mean, you can move through someone's square and they know you're there.
I would argue that that relies more on perception than acrobatics, because that is your situational awareness.
Yeah.
More than moving.
Yeah. I mean, I could have seen a stealth roll for it.
Yeah.
You know.
Without advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also thought that too.
But.
And the same with Bo's acrobatics check when she says she wants to get up into the rafters.
Well, yeah, because she could have just
again
gone up the vertical surface as a monk and done monk shit.
Yeah. Again, arguably not called for at all because of class abilities. But Matt said, yeah, because you might fail and hilarious shit might happen is why he called for it.
Which
might also
is a valid reason.
Yeah. And it's also probably why he asked for a skill both of them are good at.
Yeah.
We will assume you are going to do this. Let's see.
Yeah.
And really, I don't think Veth, because of reliable talent, could have failed it.
Right.
So, yeah. Caleb, last minute, says, oh, I need to cast Fortune Favor on myself. And then they start joking about pre-gaming.
Yep.
And, which made me think of There's Something About Mary. So, There's Something About Astrid.
Yes.
And then they dance. And it's probably the most James Bond Cold War era spy film moment we've had.
Which, considering their background, they are basically Cold War spies.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's right up the alley. But Astrid tells him Ludinus asked Trent to send Volstrekkers after them.
Mm-hmm.
And that they were on their tail. And that they know that something happened to Vess.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost them when they went over the mountain.
Yep.
Now, some interesting things. See, to me, that conversation was very, very much like when Roy comes to Central for Hughes's funeral
Mm-hmm.
and confronts Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
And Armstrong gives him some information, and they have the argument about, I can't tell you that. And then he leaves.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, that was kind of a waste. And he's like, no, it didn't. He told me this, he told me this. And because he didn't tell me this, he told me this and this and this.
Yeah, and we got some of that for the audience from that dialogue.
Yeah.
The trust as far as it is possible, but it's not possible, was a huge line to me.
Yes, huge. And gets back to why I say Astrid and him are never going to happen again.
Right. No, yeah, definitely. We've both been on that page,
Yeah. But Ford asked, or was it Ford or Talus or Caduceus asked, was it her? And Caleb said no. She's delegated it. Which is absolutely true,
mm-hmm.
because a sufficiently high enough level wizard would have polymorph.
Yep.
And they could not follow.
Yep.
So that means these are low level wizards after them.
Yep.
So yeah, that was the big reveal for me in that
at
scene.
least below 9th, right?
Yeah.
Polymorph is 4th level.
Yeah.
Which means, unless there was like 20 of them, they wouldn't stand a chance against the mighty.
Yeah. But the big line later that we alluded to at the beginning.
Yes.
The love the three of us shared.
Yes.
Which he's talked about how close they were in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But in light of what happened earlier in the episode and how I was like, huh. And that, like, to me, those are the biggest reveals of this episode for me in terms of Caleb.
Yeah. Well, and then there's the conversation about, it's a perfect time for you to strike first, and planting that seed. And she's setting him up.
Yeah. Well,
and he's taking it.
Astrid is Cobra Kai. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
But yeah, and he's falling. We just had the line about, I want to trust you as far as it's possible, but it's not possible. And she mentions this, and he's like, well, should we do it? Can we do this? Let's,
Yeah.
And it's just like, that is counterintuitive to that other part of the conversation. And she is. And we said that she might be doing that. That was one of the things we called.
Yeah.
That she is going to connive, manipulate them into taking out Trent for her.
Yeah. And I loved this is why I wanted to loop them in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because now the shit's gonna come down on us. And they decide, let's leave. We'll get a room. So they go to the dumpy inn that they were in. And they discuss killing Trent. Is it something you even want to do? is it something we want to do? And basically, it's like, fuck yeah.
What happens with that power vacuum?
Yeah. And Laura, God's love her. Yeah, but now we were implicated in 2 assembly members' deaths.
Yeah.
Like, they already suspect us of killing Vess. Now we're going to kill Trent. Like, ugh. And Trent is definitely in Caleb's head.
Yeah.
Because he's like, did he send her to offer that?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that was going to be my next question: is did he instruct her to do that so that he could? Oh, see, they did do invest because now they're coming after me. They're coming after all of us.
I think if Trent did, it is to give the king a traitor wizard wrapped up in a neat little bow.
Yep. Well, not only that, but what do they do with traitor or rebellious, treasonous wizards? They put them in the asylum that Trent is in charge of. So he gets his little toy back in his asylum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not out of the possibility that Trent did, but I don't think so.
Right.
I think it is definitely Astrid playing her game.
It could be, but that doesn't mean that Trent doesn't know or at least suspect.
And well, he's assuming this. That's what that dinner was all about.
Yeah.
And lighting a fire under his potential replacement.
Yeah.
Because I'm not getting any younger.
Well, but he could be having that capture, get Caleb, back in the asylum.
Get him away from the good influences.
As a fallback plan for if she is taking this step.
That's true. It's just, to me, from Trent's point of view, and getting the king off of his and Ludinus's back, giving them Caleb.
Right. Well, no, definitely. But just like back when we first met Trent in the dinner and we talked about, this is the type of guy that even if something happens that he didn't plan, he has a plan for how to spin it so that it was his plan.
Yeah.
And that's what this is an example of.
Yeah. And for the first time, we do get the Mighty Nine considering being power players in the Empire.
Yeah.
Where in the past, when it has come up, it's been sworn off. It's never going to happen. I don't want it. Where this time, it was seriously considered.
Yeah.
So we're getting the ever inching closer. Jester communes with the Traveler.
Mm-hmm.
And she just says, do you guys have any questions for Artie? And Artagan slaps Ford in the tit again. And he's like, fucking Archfey! And I'm like, gee golly gosh, man, if you had only gone Oath of Ancients, you could do something about this.
Yep.
It's like your oath is like your ring, man.
You overpaid and now you can't admit it.
Yeah. But I think the best line of the exchange is from Veth when she says, you need to seize control of your past. Burn it.
Yep.
Some echoes of Kylo Ren in there, but not exactly the same. And then they talk about how, it's always raining. And it made me think of The Crow.
Yeah.
Can't rain all the time. So, we'll see. But he casts the tower. And he says to everybody, we are sleeping in this dumpy shithole. The tower is for Yasha and Beauregard.
Yep.
What? And what? And I push Yasha in.
Yep.
And very early on in the exchange, before they go up, and she goes to put on the bow tie, and I didn't know we were going to do this tonight. This is, I thought we were going to do this tomorrow night. And
well, because when she initially talked about with Caleb, it was when they were in Nicodrana, so everyone else would at least be able to stay at the chateau.
Yeah, or have their family to friends. Yeah. And Josh is like, well, I like BL. And then I love the awkwardness. I thought you were giving me something. You want my hand. So good. So many good moments.
Yes.
And arguably, in character, there was definitely a reason for Beauregard to want to set up their date this way. But also, just from a storytelling perspective, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And it begins with Frumpkin, little card, Heinz, and the fold out of the nestled nook.
Yeah.
And a cocktail that I kind of wish we had more info on. The Dark and Stormy. And the theme of the first part was starting over.
But I believe the cocktail is one they made on Between the Sheets. I believe the episode with Matt, they made it Dark and Stormy.
You say that, I think you're right.
And so, I mean, we could go back and watch Between the Sheets and have that cocktail, because it's the one.
No, I think that's the one they did for Ashley's episode.
It might have been Ashley's episode. It was one of the episodes. I know it was an episode.
Yeah.
But regardless.
And I think the most powerful line in the first part was from Ashley. I've had a lot of people in my head. I didn't want to give them you.
Yeah.
Because she was afraid that if they saw how much she cared for Bo, they would use that against her.
Well, look what they did with Suala.
Yeah.
She has that trauma, so she has that fear.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very real possibility for Yasha.
Yeah. And Bo both gives and seeks absolution for the violence that they've done to one another. You were not in your right mind. It wasn't your fault. And this is the first time we've actually gotten Yasha to mourn for Molly. Because she wasn't available when he died. And when they went back to the grave, there was some of it, but it was more... She was one of the more horrified of the Mighty Nine at what they were doing. Understandably so.
Right.
But this is the first time she's been able to talk about Molly. And Marisha stops her from answering her question. Said, let's wait for the next area. And then Zwei. And it is reminiscent of the Jorhaus.
Yep.
The Jorhaus painting. The Field of Wildflowers in the evening. Where Bo asked, how did you and Molly meet? And we get that he was the first person she saw.
Yeah, which raises a question that we didn't necessarily have about the circus. So we now have confirmation, so we know that Molly was found when he came to by the circus. But now we know that the first thing Yasha experienced when she came out of her missing period was the circus. How is the circus, like, how many of the people that the circus collected have gaps that the circus just found?
A not insignificant portion.
Well, just those two makes it a not insignificant. But, I mean, is this...
Yeah.
It just raises questions about the circus. And
Gustav is the bad guy. And we have yet to confront that. But she says he was so beautiful. And Boaz is the Mighty Nine better than the circus? And she basically says, you know, yes, but no, it's different.
Yeah.
And then they recount their meeting at the circus. And did I carry you? Why did I carry you?
Didn't want you to take my staff.
Yeah. And you saw through my bullshit. No, I didn't.
You had to have.
Yeah. And she turns around her love of the circus and all their colors and life. And she says, yeah, but you stood out to me because you were black and white.
Yeah, the monochromatic vision.
Yeah. They sort of dance around the fact that together here with the Mighty Nine, they have sort of a shared purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And the big heavy hitter was, I fell in love with you in Comorta.
Yeah.
And then the KO punch for Matt, and also for me. But for Matt, is when she says, you know, I saw where you came from and where you are now. I'm so proud of you. You did it all on your own.
Yeah.
That is almost word for word what Matt has said about Marisha.
Mm-hmm.
How he feels about Marisha.
Yeah.
Which is why that was the KO for him.
Yeah.
And I would argue that Yasha, in that conversation, arguably took the first part of an oath of protection.
Yeah.
And I say this mostly because I'm going to bat for her to get access to the Holy Avenger and all of its powers. So, but I want to kiss you, and they kiss.
Yes.
And then you see Frumpkin deadpan staring at you. I smack Caleb.
Yeah. Which I want to reiterate. We've said this before, that when Frumpkin is like that is Caleb. Frumpkin is giving Caleb information, whether in the moment or later on. That is Caleb peeping on their date.
So good. So good. But dry.
And when he says that, there's almost a hint of smugness in Liam's voice.
Well, because I think he's interpreting it from Frumpkin's point of view, and Frumpkin doesn't want to be doing this.
Okay.
This is a waste of my talents, basically. But it's the ninja attack.
Yes, the Dober ninjas.
Yes. And we throw out all notions of action economy.
Yes.
And not mad about it.
No.
This was set up. Bo asked her to help her. So any actions skipped, Bo takes the dodge action. They attack her with disadvantage.
Yeah.
They couldn't hit her with, they hit her once.
Yeah.
So they're not hitting her. So it's a matter of, okay, done.
Yeah.
If you want to let this happen, it's done. And fear. The steam's respite.
Yep.
I'm trying to decide if that whole bit was added by Caleb or just the lions. But it seemed to me Marisha was surprised.
No, I think the whole thing was Caleb.
Yeah. And they get naked time under fireworks.
In the hot tub.
Yep. And Bo says, I love you too.
Yep.
And Steam episode ends. But wait, there's more. Because I assumed you guys would probably get to your room at some point. And so...
Well, and she says, the bed's made and ready whenever you are.
Yeah. So Liam gives a bit of detail for what's in the room now.
Yes.
And that is that the Bo and Yasha figures in the stained glass are holding hands.
Yep.
I was blown away. And so much so that Ashley is my MVP.
Yes. I agree.
And yes, Marisha set all this up, and Caleb did the narration.
Yep.
And gave them the massage at the end, and it was very lovely. And you could argue it wouldn't have happened without them, but every single hit
and moment of vulnerability in the characters was initiated by Yasha.
Yeah. So yeah, it was amazing.
No, I hands down agree.
And I think this week's episode begins with them belly aching about their accommodations. And Caleb going, well, let's go have breakfast at least inside of the tower.
Yeah.
I think the bits are still there. So when they come in and they float up, they will see the nestled nook, the steam's respite, the picnic.
Okay.
I think they will see the remnants of the date.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have breakfast. And then it will be wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
How was your night?
The various people trying to get various details that are pertinent to their personal interests out of
the only thing I'm not sure of is who's going to broach the subject first, Jester or Beth.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one. But my gut says Beth. Because she's been fairly shameless.
Yeah.
And the information that she wants is not the same information that Jester wants. Because Jester is going to want to know, do you feel differently now that you've done this?
Yeah.
In the context of the team.
Yeah.
Because Jester is going to be concerned with, if I do anything with Ford, how is that going to shake out? And I think Ford also will have that concern too, but I don't think he's going to be saying anything. He's going to shut his mouth and he's going to watch what's happening.
Yep.
Because that's what Travis wants to do.
Yep.
This isn't gonna be me. This isn't gonna happen to me. Plus, Travis now has the added weight of having to follow that. But I think they go see the Bright Queen next episode.
Yeah, they're gonna go see the Bright Queen,
and they'll go to Nicodranus to give Luke his presents. And then we go north, I think.
You don't think they stop at Shady Creek Run?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I hope they do, just because Keg is there, Rainy's there, Neil is there.
Yeah.
Like, we've got 3 former guest stars.
Yeah.
If they are all there in the studio, then I can see us going to Shady Creek Run.
I don't.
Or on video conference.
Yeah. That's what I would say. If they have any form of guest starring, it will be
Video.
via video conference, whether that be Skype or Google Meet or whatever system they're going to use.
Yeah.
But it will be a patch in with a monitor.
Oh.
Because that's a lot easier to do with all the COVID restrictions than actually adding.
That's true.
A place for people.
Yeah, that's true. And 2 weeks hence, before the show, if there's time for after show prep, before the show or after, I'm going to be reading a short story based on Vex and Percy and Trick.
Okay.
So look forward to that, but we'll see you guys next week, I guess.